What is up, guys? My name is Max, and I'm going to be tutoring you guys on AP Euro and AP Histories, if we get any other requests. Alright, so today's presentation is going to be on new monarchs, and this is going to be a review for the AP Euro exam 2020, where we write a DBQ as our test. So for the topic of new monarchs, the key concepts that AP wants us to know are these. The main one is explain the causes and effects of the development of political institutions from 1450 to 1648. And we got these other four. I'll give you guys a moment to read these if you want. If you need more time, go ahead and pause the video. Alright, so basically the first one says monarchs and princes wanted to control religion and religious life. Second one is monarchs wanted to control taxes, military, and courts. Third one is commercial and professional groups wanted to gain more power and did gain more power. And the last one is political fragmentation in Italy provided background for concepts of a secular state, basically. This one is a lot more in Renaissance, and I don't think that's as applicable to new monarchs as the rest. But AP does to keep this one as a key point. Alright, let's get into the actual more detaily parts of this. So, when talking about new monarchs, you always want to keep in mind Spain, France, England, and the Holy Roman Empire. These are essentially the four powers of the time. The Italian states are fragmented. We don't have a unified Italy until the late 19th century, or mid-19th century, I guess you could say. And Portugal is also kind of a power, but not really. So let's talk about these four. For Spain, we have Ferdinand and Isabella. They are the monarchs who united Spain, basically. Through their Reconquista, they reconquested Moorish lands of Spain. They also started the Spanish Inquisition, which was basically targeting, killing Jews and Muslims who converted to Christianity, but by the Inquisitors were believed to not actually be Christians and to be faking it. After Ferdinand and Isabella, we have also Charles V. He's King of Spain and the Holy Roman Empire. That's the Habsburg lands. He is the grandson of Ferdinand and Isabella, and we'll get to him in a little bit. So next we got France. In France we got Charles VII and Louis XI. Charles VII is the monarch who basically ended. He was the monarch when the 100 Years' War ended. Although mainly it wasn't him winning, it was Joan of Arc and his economic planners winning and merchants who were winning. Charles VII did in fact become a new monarch, and he was successful. A lot of what he did was he established a standing army, partially for the 100 Years' War. He made the taille and the gabet, and those are the two taxes. So taille is the land tax, gabet is the salt tax. And this was the French government's main form of income until the French Revolution. Then Charles VII also largely limited the power of dukes and nobles, something Louis XI would continue to do. So Louis XI was essentially similar to Charles VII, except Louis XI basically broke apart the army, the standing army, in favor of Swiss mercenaries. Now, Machiavelli actually criticized Louis XI and the prince for this exact reason, saying France could have been invincible. So then let's go to England. We got the Tudors. They are the family that comes out of the War of the Roses. The first Tudor monarch was Henry VII. We can talk about him and the Star Chamber. The Star Chamber is basically a court where Henry VII can try any noble that stands against him, and this is his way of controlling the nobles. His son, Henry VIII, he's largely known for the English Reformation. He broke away from the Catholic Church and founded the Church of England over a divorce. The Pope would not let him divorce and marry Anne Boleyn. Then we go to the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire is a loose confederation, I guess you could say, with a single emperor. And the one we're going to talk about is Charles V. He was arguably the strongest Holy Roman Emperor. He controlled both Spain and the Holy Roman Empire, Habsburg lands, and he was a devout defender of the Catholic faith, but there are arguments that he is not a new monarch because he could not centralize his power over the vast Holy Roman Empire and all of its states. But Charles V was a powerful monarch, and he did defend his territories from strong invaders, including the Ottomans, who attacked Central Europe. So, since this is DBQ for our exam, let's talk about this in terms of a DBQ. Let's write a DBQ, basically. So the prompt I came up with was evaluate the impact of new monarchs on European governments from 1450 through 1648. My immediate response would be the thesis of the impact of the new monarchs on European government was its centralization by means of seizing control of religion and taxation. This would get the point because A, it makes an argument, the impact was centralization of the government, right? And it has my points that I'm going to defend it with. So by means of seizing control of religion and taxation, 2 points. A lot of my teachers are saying 3 points, but really you can get points as long as you have something to back up your argument. I suggest 3, unless you can do it in 2. So I wrote 2 theses that basically include the similar information, but will not get you the point. The first one does not have an argument. So new monarchs impacted European government by means of seizing control of religion and taxation. No argument. There's just 2 defensive points and you're restating the prompt. That's not going to get you any points. Likewise, the impact of the new monarchs on European government was its centralization. There's an argument, sure, but there's nothing to defend your argument with. So that's not going to get you the point either. Now, the thesis is the most important part of your essay because you can't get a ton of points without your thesis. So many points actually depend on you defending your thesis or helping your thesis. But for a DBQ, your argument and what you're writing about is largely dictated by the documents, alright? So the documents dictate your argument. So you can really write about anything as long as you can defend it and use the documents. So I wrote a thesis here that's not really, I don't think it's true, but if I can defend it with the documents, I can write about it and I can get points about it. Alright, so new monarchs weakened the government through their individualistic ideas, increased military spending, and centralized power. So this can get points as long as you defend it and you have documents talking about individualistic ideas, increased military spending, and centralized power. Alright, so that's the thesis. Since the thesis is largely dictated by the document, here's a sample document in this DBQ that I would put. It's the Act of Supremacy, or part of it at least, and I'm going to give you a little bit of time to read it if you want. Pause the video if you want to actually read it fully. Alright, if you need more time and you're actually going to read it, go ahead and pause the video. But otherwise, I'm going to talk about what we can use this document for. So essentially this document is talking about how Henry VIII took control of the religion of England. And wow, doesn't this correspond with our thesis, or one of the evidence points of the thesis. So here we have religion, means of seizing control of religion, exactly what Henry VIII did with this document. So see, this is just an example of how we can use the document to defend our thesis. And largely it's going to be one of these 2 points, religion or taxation. Another thing is legal and military might. So then we go to the context. The contextualization for the new monarchs would largely be Renaissance and Reformation. I would talk about them both. You just need to talk about it just enough to really paint the picture, you know? And what we can talk about the Renaissance and the Reformation. For the Renaissance, we can talk about classical ideas, the revival of that, individualism, Machiavelli and his The Prince, like I talked about earlier with the French section, and the emergence of the ideas of secular government, like we saw in one of the key points, in the final key point that AP showed us. The Reformation was a breakaway basically from Catholic power. Everyone tried to reform the Christian religion, and that continued the emergence of secular government. So let's go back to the actual document. In order to get the point, you can get 5 points from this document. So the 5 points that you can get with the documents are 1 point you can get by describing at least 2 documents. Another point by you can get 2 points for this by supporting your argument with at least 2 or 4 documents. You need 4 documents to get both points in that section. And for 1 or 2 documents, one document gets you 1 point, the second document gets you the second point. You explain how or why the document's point of view, purpose, historical situation, and or audience is relevant to an argument. So you're sourcing the document. So for support, we already talked to the support of the argument for your thesis. That's why you need a valid thesis, because without a thesis, you cannot get these points. If we get complexity, if we get this, if we actually get an essay on new monarchs, there's a couple of different things you can do with the complexity. First of all, I need to mention, a lot of times it's a good idea to put an introduction to your complexity either in your thesis or maybe the sentence after your thesis. And some things you could do for complexity would be you could compare new monarchs to absolute monarchs, because they had very, very similar ideas, but absolute monarchs came later on, and they were a little bit more extreme in their ways. They completely cut off the nobles' power. They completely centralized taxes, you know? Then a couple other things we could do for complexity would be a result of these new monarchs would be the 30 Years' War. You talk about how these new monarchs caused the 30 Years' War, and how without them it couldn't have happened. Again, you need to talk about that, and you need to show how that gives complex understanding of the essay. And then finally, another idea that I had, you could talk about the effect on individual life. So the prompt talks about the impact on European governments. So this could be on the effect on their subjects, the effect on the people. So this was the DBQ practice of the New Monarchs AP Euro review. If you have any questions, just comment them down below. If you'd like to have any suggestions, have any questions, have any requests, just comment down below. But yeah, if you guys like this, give us a like, and go ahead and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Yeah, see you guys.